My name is H.A. Goodman. I'm an author, columnist, and journalist. And here you have, it's really funny, you have Eric Schneiderman, who is no longer Attorney General of New York, forced to step down because allegedly he beats up people he's in love with, or has relationships with. This should be the biggest news in politics. And this is why this is the problem with the way politics, the way that the media reacts to scandals that hurt the Democratic Party. Eric Schneiderman resigns as New York Attorney General amid assault claims. Okay, this one day ago. Barely, Eric Schneiderman set himself up as Trump's foil. What happens now? Look at all these, benign headlines now. It's just unbelievable. Replacing Schneiderman is a big job. Some say, one for a woman. So it's not like, oh my goodness, look at this hypocrisy. It's about Mueller. Mueller team interviewed Putin-tied oligarch. Do you know who actually even more influential, even more powerful than any oligarch in Russia? You take the most powerful, wealthy oligarch, the most powerful, wealthy man in Russia, and Vladimir Putin is more powerful than him. And guess who Bill Clinton met? Let's just really quickly. So what they've done now is they're focusing on Mueller team interviewed Putin-tied oligarchs. So what they're doing is they're just buying time to try to legitimize their existence. The Mueller investigation, we know that, today was the Iran deal, so I'll get to that in a second. People are they're acting completely in an irrational manner. Everything is Israel's fault. Everything is, if we don't abide by the deal, or if we withdraw from the Iran deal, then we'll have war with Iran. We're not going to invade Iran. I explained this in my last segment. It's not going to happen. We don't even have the military to do so. Nobody on the planet has the military to go ahead and have, one, two, how many wars are we in right now? We're still in Iraq and Afghanistan. Those are wars. We're in Syria and Yemen, thank you, Obama. And Trump has continued Obama's policies. So the notion, and again, is very simple. He is less hawkish. He's still less hawkish than Obama, and definitely less hawkish than Clinton would have been. That's not even up for debate. Obama destroyed Libya. What country did Trump single-handedly destroy with a NATO bombing and usher in this chaos and mayhem where there's now slave auctions? So the point is, it's like the media, and even there's people who claim to go up against the media, but at the end of the day, the groupthink on the left filters, and there's this rabid hatred of Israel. Hatred. It's not about critique anymore. You can critique Israel all you like. That's fine. No country is perfect. Israel's not perfect. But to say that it's all just because Netanyahu wants, either us to attack Iran, or has stated that, that he might attack Iran, or that the U.S. should attack Iran, that's irrelevant. It's rhetoric. Israel's military and air force can't. Well, I've read that they can't even reach Tehran and then fly back. It's too far. You just look at the map. It's close, but still too far. And this is about not. Well, let's see. The Iran. I can go on forever. I'm going to get to the Mueller team interviewed Putin-tied oligarch about payments to Cohen in a second. You have this mentality that everything that has to do in the Middle East is AIPAC or Israel, and it's just not true. The United States has its own interests. Bush wanted to go into Iraq. Obama wanted to bomb Libya. Those were not both Iraq and Libya were not Israel's fault, even if in the case of Iraq, Netanyahu or Israel like the UK, said, "Oh, it's in our interests if if Saddam is deposed." But we have a foreign policy, and we're not going to go ahead, at least under President Trump. We're not going to go ahead and constantly use the words "our allies want," "our allies want." If you noticed, Bush and President Obama and Bill Clinton before Bush kept on using the phrase "our allies." We have more allies than just Israel. So there are other countries who also want Assad out. There are other countries who also are against Iran, Saudi Arabia being one of them. I noticed today on Twitter, people are like, this is a Zionist plot. Well, guess who is basically undercover, in a very surreptitious manner, allied with Israel? Saudi Arabia. So, but I didn't hear much of that. I heard only, Israel, Israel, Israel. So there is, I'm not going to say, because I know that most people are not anti-Semitic, I know that, but there is a tiny bit of anti-Semitism there, a tiny bit. And for some people, a great deal of masked beneath the, it's a Zionist state, and it's it's really, all of Israel is the Palestinian property. Jews should never be there. Meanwhile, you look at history, Jews have a claim to the land for thousands of years. It's like, there's no attempt at a normal conversation. Just on Twitter, there are people who have followed me, and now they're upset with me because I'm like, look, the Iran deal was bad. Why am I focusing on this? I'm focusing on this because people cannot disagree. It's like brainwashed. They're like brainwashed to believe certain things. In the Mueller team interviewed Putin-tied oligarch. Okay. I'll read this, and I'm all over the place, but it's like, we're not going to war with Iran. It was a bad deal, and Eric Schneiderman is completely, just not. They're sweeping that under the rug. That is the biggest thing to undermine Mueller since a couple days ago. The judge basically called Manafort's lawyers, the prosecutors, the government prosecutors, a bunch of liars. But here, I'll read you. Mueller team interviewed Putin-tied oligarch about payment to Cohen. Special counsel Robert Mueller's team has interviewed a Russian oligarch tied to Russian President Vladimir Putin about the payments his company made to President Trump's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, the months after the 2016 election. So what? So what? How does this correlate to Russian hackers? So suddenly anyone from Russia is a problem? Suddenly the whole entire narrative is based on a lie. The Russians did not hack the DNC. So there's no evidence of that. The DNC deliberately hid its servers and wiped them clean like Clinton did because they're hiding information. And they were not hacked, it was a leak. The notion that a foreign power would hack into the DNC servers to show everyone how corrupt Hillary Clinton is not only convoluted, they just wouldn't waste their time. They would hack in. What they did is a sleight of hand. They really hacked into Clinton's private server and took top secret intelligence and special access program intelligence. But what the Democratic Party did is they were very smart. They utilized the pain and anguish and sadness and frustration of Trump winning. And they said, well, no, there's not a shred of evidence that the Russians hacked into Clinton's server, but the intelligence community is highly to moderately confident. Based on a CrowdStrike report that was, by the way, purchased by Hillary Clinton's law firm, that the Russians hacked the DNC servers. Mueller's team reportedly questioned Victor Veckelsberg about the hundreds of thousands of dollars paid from his company, U.S. affiliate Columbus Nova, to Cohen. Mueller is currently investigating ties between Trump campaign and Russia. No, he's not. But, I love the Hill, but no, he's not. The team also asked about donations the head of the American affiliate made to Trump campaign and inaugural funds. Columbus Nova attorney Richard Owens pushed back against the report in a statement to the Hill, saying the reports that Veckelsberg used the company to make payments to Cohen are false. Okay, well, there you go. Owen said the company hired Cohen after the inauguration as a business consultant regarding potential sources of capital and potential investments in real estate and other ventures. The claim that Victor Veckelsberg was involved or provided any funding for Columbus Nova's engagement of Michael Cohen is patently untrue. Neither Victor Veckelsberg or anyone else other than Columbus Nova's owners were involved in the decision to hire Cohen or provided funding for his engagement. The statement read. So, the report emerges shortly after Stormy Daniels' lawyer, Michael Avenatti, alleged that Cohen had received $500,000 from Veckelsberg Company in the months after the election. So what? So what? So what you have is a consulting agreement with a Russian businessman and a Russian-owned company. So what? This is not a pay-to-play scheme where money is funneled into the Clinton Foundation, and then a favorable something beneficial takes place, a favorable outcome for the people who funnel money. So what? It's just unbelievable how it's unbelievable how they're still running on Red Scare. It's like Red Scare software. It's been debunked now. The biggest conspiracy theorists are on the left. The left is a complete disarray of just the most. I'm talking. I know some great people, and it's the great people that I know that keep the left, afloat. And like liberals or progressives or people to the left of center, they're surviving because of a small number of great individuals that I know, that I'm friends with. But everybody from Rachel Maddow and Chris Hayes to the average Twitter troll who thinks that he or she is so important, but really isn't, to the person who was like, it's all Israel's fault, because that's become mainstream on the left. It used to be the extreme right, and now it's a vantage point on the left where Israel has no right to exist. It used to be, like, and they don't, like, I have no concept, like, there's just zero concept of history. 48, 1973, 1967, 1948, 1967, 1973. Three major wars. We had numerous countries in the Middle East, numerous Arab nations, and even Iran in 1948. All joined forces against Israel. So when people say, well, Israel has a nuclear weapon. Yeah. How many times did, Iran, 1948, Israel war. So, let's see, where is that? Okay, so no, I was wrong. They do fund Hezbollah and Hamas, but for the war for independence. So I thought Israel was a part of that. But here's Israel, 1948, against Egypt, Iraq, what was then Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, and some other countries. Okay. Oh, okay. The Palestinians have their own military. Okay. And so... All right, so you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 countries and other militias against Israel. 1948. Okay. And this is the, oh my God, Israel is like this horrible, crazy state and has an immense power. And okay, so it went up against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 countries. Then in the Six-Day War, again, went up against Egypt, Syria, Jordan, and Iraq. 1, 2, 3, 4 countries. Then the Yom Kippur War in 1973 went up against Egypt, Syria, Iraq, Jordan, Algeria, Morocco, Saudi Arabia, and Cuba. I didn't know Cuba was a part of that. Okay. So it's like, I'm not saying that Israel's perfect. And then the issue with Iran and Israel, I actually don't think that Israel should ever attack Iran or that the U.S. should ever attack Iran. Okay, so Iran agrees to renew funding to Hamas. So it's like, and then Iran funds Hezbollah, Iran funds a whole bunch of other groups. This is Obama's report. State Department report finds Iran is, and by the way, like, I love the Iranian people and I love Persian people. This has nothing to do with, I'm not even like, I don't have hatred towards the government of Iran. I'm just stating, like, I'm looking at this objectively. People who look at this, everything going on with Mueller, the whole Mueller probe is done. There's no more Mueller probe. Okay, it's now just a war of attrition for people who can't realize that Eric Schneiderman beats the people that he has sexual relations with, and he's part of the Me Too movement, and he was like part of the Women's March, all these things. He's a typical Democrat. He's a typical Democratic Party male feminist who just is the opposite of what he claims to be. He's no better in some ways. He's just the same. He's just the same as the televangelist that asks for money from poor religious people. Except he, gets money and power from very wealthy elites in New York and Manhattan. But anyway, and then he was working with Mueller to get Trump. State Department report finds Iran as top sponsor of state terror. Okay, the State Department on Thursday. This is under President Obama. State Department on Thursday released its annual report on global terrorist activities, listing Iran as the top state sponsor of terrorism. Okay, so this is under John Kerry. During an interview in Davos, Switzerland, Secretary of State John Kerry admitted in January that some of the money made available to Iran by the removal of sanctions would, quote, end up in the hands of a whole bunch of terrorist groups. Okay. So it's like unbelievable. Then they were, then they said like no military sites for the testing. So Iran rejects U.S. demand for UN visit to military sites. They're like, no, Iran's complying. Iran has dismissed the U.S. demand for United Nations nuclear inspectors to visit its military bases as merely a dream. Iran has dismissed a U.S. demand for United Nations nuclear inspectors to visit its military bases. Okay. It also said the IAEA was unlikely to agree anyway. The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, why would the International Atomic Energy Agency not agree with UN inspectors to go into military bases? That's where you would have a program. That's where you would further your program. So so today on Twitter, I was like, oh, there's 23 ballistic missiles. And that probably came as a shock to a lot of people, but still that wasn't enough. And then they're like, well, it's okay, And then I'm like, well, they're actually closing off their military sites to the inspectors. And the United Nations is barred from these military sites. Iran's military sites are off limits. All information about these sites are classified. Iran will never allow such visits. So then why strike a deal? It's not about, honestly, like, who was it? Not Samuel Huntington. Kenneth Waltz. Kenneth Waltz is a very renowned He died in 2013. Wow. But he wrote, I believe he wrote Man, the State, and War. He's a really renowned international relations scholar. Just an amazing, brilliant mind. And he basically talked about his views, theories that more nuclear weapons actually has made the world safer, not less safe. You have major powers now who are not even thinking of engaging in. It's a very difficult, very, very difficult thing to. Human beings are very it's counterintuitive. Like, if we didn't have nuclear weapons, we would have had more conventional wars, but we do have nuclear weapons. Now we risk global annihilation. So it's like, this catch-22 type thing. So I honestly don't care if Iran has a nuclear weapon. It's a defensive weapon. It's not an offensive weapon. It's a defensive weapon. It's to ensure you don't get invaded. But this hyperbole regarding the Iran deal. Oh my God, he wants to invade Iran. No, he doesn't. And why don't you even give him credit for the Korean Peninsula, North and South Korea? It's like these people, they go on from the next rant to the other. Russia. Like, some people on the left are on Russia. Russia did it. And some people, everything's Israel's fault. And some people, it's, oh my God, he's going to attack Iran. Then some people are like, it's not even, he didn't really have anything to do with peace between North and South Korea. So it's like, you can't win. You cannot win. You can't win. Trump can't win. That's why with certain people of political ideology. So just don't worry about it. I say he fires Mueller tomorrow. Nobody cares about Mueller anymore. Mueller is like story number 4 or 5 after Iran, after Schneiderman, after a whole bunch of things. And Stormy Daniels is like a joke now. Nobody cares about Stormy Daniels now. AT&T confirms it paid Trump lawyer Michael Cohen, so now they're after. And this is the New York Times now. See, the one thing that Democrats will always, and of course on the left they'll say, oh, well, it was a Jewish guy, or the left is like nasty. There's like this latent anti-Semitism. They're nasty. And now it's like blatant. Everything is Israel's fault. Hamas, no, they're fine. The European Court of Human, European Council of Human Rights labels it a terrorist group. Oh, no, they have no authority. A courageous Trump on a call on a lousy Iran deal. So this is the New York Times. I don't even like the New York Times. I'm just saying the left doesn't have a vantage point. Because even the liberal Democrats will be like, yeah, you know what, it was a bad deal. Some of them, most no, they just love Obama. Obama could have done anything. They'll love him. There's no. They don't care. They don't care. It's all about what team what side of the political divide you're on. Okay. Give me your thoughts below. Share this segment everywhere. It wasn't too much about the Mueller trying to go ahead and, annoy yet another person. The United States government is going to spend millions and millions of dollars trying to fabricate evidence in these lawsuits. They're going to get sued. And I mean, not that Mueller cares and not that the Democratic Party cares, but at the end of the day, they're going to have to prove, just like the Judge Ellis at the Manafort case, that A, they have the authority to just attack these people based on nonsense. Oh my God, Manafort committed money laundering in 2007 or 2004. Yeah, then why didn't the DOJ go after him? You had Obama the whole time. You had Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch for 8 years. You didn't have the evidence then? Oh, but now you go out? No. The judge is like, look, you're doing this just to get to Trump. And then these Russian internet companies, they're fighting back, and they're going ahead, and they're not just going to let the U.S. government try to prosecute them. They're going to go ahead and they have lawyers here. They're fighting back. So this is like wasting money. There are no Russian hackers. We would have known who they were because the NSA has $10 billion budget. The CIA has a $15 billion budget. The FBI has a $10 billion budget. That's $35 billion. If the intelligence community costs you $35 billion and they have zero intelligence regarding everything they're thinking might happen, it's a bunch of nonsense. I won't even use profanity. Yeah, well, I will. It's a profanity alert. It's a profanity alert. Please do not listen if you don't want to hear profanity. It's a bunch of bullshit. They're the biggest bullshit artists on the planet. And then even proponents of the Iran deal, like it's going to lead to war if they don't if you withdraw from the deal. Wait a second. That country is the type of country or the leadership you're going to suddenly go to war? Well, how rational is that? So you trust them, though, to stay rational during the agreement. They're going to go to war. We're going to attack them. We're not going to attack. It's just they're going to try to renegotiate. And then you're going to see Trump with the Iranian leader Rouhani shaking hands. And it's just going to be, and then we might see very soon Kim Jong-un and Trump. And that will just be, they won't know what to make of it. The left. Give me your thoughts below. Mueller is trying to go ahead again and find some link to something and annoying and bothering and wasting other people's money and taxpayer money. Give me your thoughts. Thank you so much.